If you have to beg for love, pause for a second, because real love doesn't need convincing. The moment you start pleading, you're not fighting for love. You're fighting against your own worth. Begging for love destroys respect faster than silence ever will, because the moment you start pleading for someone to stay, choose you, or treat you right, you quietly tell them that your boundaries are flexible and your value is negotiable. You may think you're fighting for love, but what you're really doing is teaching another person how little they have to invest to keep you around. Respect doesn't disappear all at once. It erodes in small moments where you tolerate less than you deserve and call it patience, understanding, or loyalty. When you beg, you step out of your power without realizing it, and once power is given away, it's rarely handed back voluntarily. People don't respect what they don't have to work for. That's not cruelty, it's human nature. When someone sees that you're willing to chase them, explain yourself endlessly, forgive without change, and stay even when your needs are ignored, they subconsciously register that you will always be there regardless of how they behave. Your presence becomes guaranteed, and anything guaranteed is taken for granted. Silence, on the other hand, introduces uncertainty. It doesn't beg, it doesn't explain, it simply observes. And in that space, people are forced to confront their actions without you cushioning the consequences. Begging creates a dynamic where one person holds emotional authority and the other waits for approval. You stop expressing needs and start negotiating dignity. You soften your tone, lower your expectations, and rehearse your pain so it sounds more acceptable. Over time, this changes how the other person sees you. Not because you became unlovable, but because you showed them you were willing to abandon yourself to keep them. Respect cannot coexist with self-abandonment. The more you sacrifice your standards to be chosen, the more invisible those standards become to the person you're trying to impress. Silence is often misunderstood as weakness, but it's actually restraint. It's choosing not to argue with someone who has already shown you who they are. It's refusing to perform emotional labor for someone who benefits from your exhaustion. Silence says, "I'm paying attention," without saying a word. And when someone notices that you're no longer chasing, no longer pleading, no longer pleading, it forces them to reassess the balance. Either they step up to meet you or they drift away, and both outcomes reveal the truth faster than begging ever could. When you beg for love, you delay clarity. You give chance after chance, hoping your pain will finally be understood if you explain it the right way. But people who respect you don't need perfect explanations. They respond to your boundaries the first time. Silence removes the noise and exposes intent. It shows whether someone values you enough to reflect, adjust, and show up, or whether they only valued the convenience of your availability. Respect grows in spaces where access is earned, not demanded. There is also a cost to begging that most people don't talk about. It changes how you see yourself. Each time you plead for basic decency, a small part of your self-trust weakens. You start questioning your worth, your standards, your instincts. You wonder if you're asking for too much, when in reality, you're asking for the bare minimum. Silence protects your inner world. It gives you space to remember who you were before you started chasing validation from someone who couldn't give it freely. Silence doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough about yourself not to beg for something that should be given willingly. It's a boundary without drama. It's confidence without explanation. When you stop begging, you stop trying to control the outcome and start allowing people to reveal their true priorities. Some will rise, some will leave, but none will misunderstand where you stand, because your absence of chasing speaks louder than any emotional speech ever could. Begging often comes from fear. Fear of being alone, fear of loss, fear that this is the best you can do. Silence comes from trust. Trust that what's meant for you won't require you to betray yourself. Respect follows the person who can walk away without begging, not because they don't feel pain, but because they refuse to let pain dictate their standards. Silence creates room for dignity, and dignity is what commands respect even in your absence. When you choose silence over begging, you stop rewarding disrespect with access. You stop training others to overlook your needs. You let consequences do the talking. And that quiet something shifts. You begin to feel grounded again. You remember that love isn't proven by how much you suffer for it, but by how safe and valued you feel within it. Silence restores balance where begging created imbalance. It brings you back into alignment with your worth, and from that place, respect either returns or reveals it was never there to begin with, and you no longer have to question why someone treats you the way they do, because their response to your silence has already answered everything you needed to know about how they see you and what they are willing to give when they are no longer being chased. Self-respect is the foundation that real love responds to, because love that has to be begged for is not built on desire, choice, or admiration. It's built on fear of loss. When you respect yourself, you stop asking others to validate your worth, and that alone changes how people experience you. Self-respect isn't loud. It doesn't announce boundaries with threats or ultimatums. It simply lives by standards and lets behavior decide who stays and who goes. And real love, the kind that's healthy and lasting, always responds to that energy because it recognizes stability, not desperation. When self-respect is present, you don't rush to fix what someone else breaks. You don't chase conversations that should come naturally. You don't explain your value to someone who's already benefiting from it. You understand that love isn't proven by endurance. It's proven by consistency. People who are capable of real love are drawn to those who honor themselves, because self-respect signals emotional maturity. It says you know who you are, what you offer, and what you will not tolerate, and that clarity is attractive to anyone who is serious about connection. Without self-respect, love becomes conditional. You start bending your needs, minimizing your feelings, and adjusting your expectations just to keep someone close. Over time, this creates imbalance. One person gives, the other receives. One person waits, the other decides. Self-respect corrects that imbalance by removing the need to chase. When you respect yourself, you don't fear walking away, and that freedom is what shifts the dynamic. Love responds to someone who can leave, not someone who is trapped by attachment. Real love requires choice, and choice only exists when there is the option to walk away. Self-respect keeps that option alive. It doesn't threaten departure, it simply accepts that staying is a privilege, not a guarantee. When someone knows they must show up consistently to keep you, they either rise to that standard or remove themselves. Both outcomes protect your peace. Love that grows from self-respect is mutual, because it's built on two people choosing each other, not one person convincing the other to stay. Self-respect also changes how you communicate. You stop over-explaining. You stop justifying your boundaries. You say what you mean once, calmly, and then you observe. This is where real love becomes visible. People who respect you don't argue with your boundaries. They honor them. People who don't respect you try to negotiate them. Self-respect allows you to see the difference without emotional confusion. It sharpens your awareness instead of clouding it. When you respect yourself, rejection doesn't destroy you. It informs you. You don't take it as a verdict on your worth, but as clarity about compatibility. This is why real love responds to self-respect, because it thrives in environments where both people feel secure enough to be honest. There is no performance, no chasing, no fear-based attachment, just presence, effort, and mutual care. Love that begins here doesn't drain you. It grounds you. Self-respect also teaches others how to love you, not through lectures, but through consistency. You show what you accept by what you allow, and when your standards are steady, people adjust accordingly. Those who can meet you at that level stay. Those who can't fall away. Love responds to self-respect because it recognizes safety. It knows there is no chaos to manage, no insecurity to exploit, no emotional labor to avoid. It knows where it stands. The strongest relationships are built between two people who don't need each other to feel whole, but choose each other because life is better together. Self-respect creates that wholeness. It removes the urgency to be chosen and replaces it with patience to be aligned. When you no longer beg for love, you become selective about it. You stop asking who wants you and start noticing who shows up. That shift changes everything. Real love doesn't run from self-respect. It leans into it. It feels safe around it. It grows within it, because self-respect is not a wall, it's a filter. It doesn't keep love out, it keeps confusion away. It ensures that when love arrives, it arrives with effort, clarity, and intention, not mixed signals, excuses, or emotional inconsistency. And once you understand that, you stop fearing loneliness and start trusting that what responds to your self-respect is worth waiting for, worth choosing, and worth protecting without ever having to beg for it again.